Can you please say your name, your rank, and a little bit about your work in the military?
Ronald Kangas. I was a chief yeoman on submarines. And I joined in 1971 and retired in 1992.
Why did you join the service?
Well, that's an unusual one for me because before I joined, I was a school teacher for 7 years. And at that time, they worked a person to death. If there were seven periods in a day, I had 7 classes. And then since I was an English teacher, I was expected to direct plays, also be the advisor of the yearbook and the newspapers. And so I was going to school like 6 in the morning after play practice and everything, grading papers till 5 in the morning, and I was getting burnt out. And every year I said, I'm not going to go back again. And I did, and in 1 year I said, oh, I'm just going to join the Navy. That way I have to stay in whether I want to or not.
What are some of your memorable stories from your time in the military?
Well, there's quite a few of them. One thing I've really enjoyed about the Navy is, even on a submarine, I got to travel around. So I've been to almost every country in the world, other than South America. I've never been anywhere in South America. And probably some of the nicest places I've been was Australia, which was fantastic. I loved Norway and Denmark and Belgium, all those in Europe. And you got so many things. You meet so many nice people. Some people are not very nice, but it's true anywhere you go. So overall, it's like any other job. You have your good days and your bad days. And
describe the work you did while in the military.
yeah, being on a submarine, it's a little different than normal things. I was a chief yeoman, which means a yeoman basically takes care of all the paperwork. Like if people are coming or going, you transfer them, you do all the evals. At sea, like being on a submarine, I had to type up the patrol reports, which is very hush-hush and that. But yet, on a submarine, doesn't matter who you are, if you're a cook or whatever, you have to qualify watch stations. So eventually I qualified all the way up to diving officer of the watch, which I was responsible for diving, surfacing the ship, and all the stations underneath that you go one up another. So just because basically on submarines, your pay grade is the only nice thing. You get more money. Otherwise, you do the same if you're a E1 or a E9.
Alrighty, what was the best day you spent while in the service of our nation?
Well, it's hard to pick one. Probably one of the days I enjoyed more than anything was the day I earned my dolphins. It takes a year to get those on a submarine at the minimum, and you're like consider a whole different person in the submarine force once you qualify. And probably the other most memorable day would have been when I made Chief Petty Officer. The Navy is different than all the other branches. The chief in the Navy is almost like God, and takes quite a while, and the initiation is something else.
Alrighty, how do you think your time in the military changed you?
Well, it changed me a lot. I learned to be well, even though I didn't join the Navy until I was 28, there was still a lot of things I didn't know about the world. I was kind of sheltered in many different things, even though I traveled a lot. But it taught me a whole new aspect of life. You met people from just about any type of life there is, whether they were rich, poor, or whatever. I was joined at the time when there was still the mandatory, not enlistment. They were still drawing numbers, and you were picked. So you got to meet everyone. And overall, it taught me to learn a lot more patience than I used to have. Things you can't just get up and tell somebody, shut up when you want to, especially if they outrank you. You'll end up in jail or something. So it helps a lot, teaches you a lot of discipline.
What was your life like while you were serving our nation?
Once again, a submarine is different than others. Like, we'd go underwater a minimum of 3 months. You wouldn't see the sun or anything. Wow. And when you'd leave your home port, back in those days, they're changing things now, you'd be gone for at least 9 months. Probably one of the worst times I ever had was we went on a patrol for 3 months. We surfaced for a half a day in the Philippines, took on new stores because another submarine broke, and we had to go to sea for another 3 months. So we were underwater 6 months, except for that half a day. Then we surfaced in Guam for 30 days, what they call an upkeep, and we left back to our home port in Hawaii. And one day out of Hawaii, we made a U-turn because another submarine broke down, and we spent another 3 months. So basically, I almost spent 9 months out of that year underwater. So it was difficult, especially for a lot of people with big families.
Mm-hmm. What was boot camp like?
My boot camp was very, very bad. And the main reason was because I enlisted during the Vietnam War. And our company commander had just got back from Vietnam. And he made it hell for everybody, believe me. In fact, we were known as a suicide squad because we had so many people trying to commit suicide just to get out of boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you learned a lot. You learned how to, they said jump. You didn't stop jumping until they told you otherwise. It really made a person out of you. If you were overweight, you were skinny when you got out. If you were skinny, you were nice and muscular when you got out. And they gave you no break whatsoever. And worst thing of all is we had to carry these rifles, and they were filled with lead, which made them twice as heavy. And if you did something wrong, it'd make you put your hands out like that and lay that gun across there. And if your hands started falling, you even got more discipline.
Oh, wow. What was the first thing you did when you returned to civilian life?
I went on a long vacation, got in my car, and I got discharged in California, and I drove through almost, I'd say at least 40 of the states on my way back to Michigan, just relaxing and sleeping, doing what I want. And of course, unfortunately, I still had the habit of waking up early every morning, so it took a while to break that. Then after I got back, I went back to teaching, but only as a substitute for about 9 years, and then I retired completely.
Alrighty. Anything you want to say that we haven't asked you?
Good. It's like anything else, good days, bad days. One thing you got to learn in the military is you don't argue with them, you won't win. I recommend, personally, I would think we should be like Europe and mandatory for everybody to do at least 2 years in the military. It sure changes the attitude on a lot of things.